News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. When many people think of what the Utah Department of Transportation does, they may think of mainly managing and renovating major roads and highways for vehicles. But on KBNU's For the People program on Thursday, another aspect was highlighted by Active Transportation Manager for UDOT, Heidi Goodhart. So what exactly is active transportation?
It's basically the act of using your body to get from point A to point B. So that includes walking, using a wheelchair, riding a scooter, riding a bicycle. It even includes like e-bikes, e-scooters, rollerblades, roller skates, that kind of stuff. She said these things might seem more recreational in their nature, things you would do for fun, but they're actually really critical parts to our transportation system. Goodhart said that UDOT is just wanting to better understand how to provide for people who need to bike and walk and what can be done along their system to improve these conditions. She said that involves a project that Logan Mayor Holly Daines has talked about in the area of the Riverwoods North development and the Gateway development on South Main. We actually have like a really exciting project that was actually the highest prioritized one in the state. On the Logan River on Main Street under US 89. We're going to be helping build a tunnel to help facilitate people crossing Logan Main Street. She said it's a project that UDOT is doing in coordination with Logan City. And they are seeking public input from communities throughout the state about active transportation needs. The public comment period goes to August 28th. For more information, visit publicinput.com/UDOT planning. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy, chance of showers and storms this evening, then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms after midnight, low around 60. Then a 70% chance of some rain showers tomorrow, especially in the afternoon. Also a chance of thunderstorms. If we get more sunshine tomorrow, it will probably warm up to around 90 degrees. Well, we've been to 82 today. It's 73 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by CBD7. If you want CBD, you want what works. CBD7. It helps pets, too. Order CBD7 online or look for the big pink CBD7 sign at 473 South Main in Logan. Learn about CBD and try their best for free.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley, and as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Authorities in eastern Idaho say a 10-year-old girl died after a rock crashed through the windshield of the car she was riding in. The Idaho State Journal reports the Oneida County Sheriff's Office said Cambry Horsley was in the passenger seat of the vehicle driven by her father, Brad Horsley, on a road near Malad this past Monday when a 4-inch rock struck her in the head. This, according to the Idaho State Journal, the rock was dislodged from the roadway by a semi-truck driving along the same road. The girl was taken by air ambulance to a Salt Lake City hospital, but died of her injuries. And travelers in western Colorado, more than 100 people had to spend the night on a highway, including nearly 30 who took refuge in a tunnel after rain over an area burned by a wildfire once again triggered mudslides in western Colorado. The motorists who became stuck in the tunnel on Interstate 70 in Glenwood Canyon Thursday night stayed there for about 9 hours until crews could carve out a path through the mud to reach them this morning. No injuries were reported. The area has been prone to mudslides in recent weeks because of a wildfire that burned in the area last year. KBNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
The newsmakers, the stories. Get it all here. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Adams Wealth Advisors puts clients first under any circumstance. No matter what the financial world may be doing, you will receive peace of mind with Adams Wealth Advisors.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Schedule a time with an advisor today. Call us at 752-1702 or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kashinka. Monday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest on the U.S. response to the Delta variant, plus a new round of anxiety for returning workers as the variant spreads. Why President Biden is trying to gin up support among Trump country voters for his infrastructure and economic packages, and the growing popularity of niche dating apps. That's Monday on This Morning, America's First News.
Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome back. Welcome to KVNU's For the People, Hour 1. You haven't missed anything yet. Hour 1 of today's show, Friday, July 30th. I'm Jason
Yeah, I thought
Williams.
it was that Hannity guy last hour. I thought it was somebody different.
I don't know what it is. Anytime I do any pre-production type stuff before the show, which is most days, my brain, for some reason, when we actually go live, it's hour 2 to me, because I've been recording things or putting something in. Speaking
so you
of,
feel like you've already put in an hour.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Makes sense.
Speaking of that, some of the audio we have for you here in hour 1, we'll get to later. Congressman Blake Moore made some comments on the House floor this week regarding Utah's drought situation, and you'll have to hear it for yourself. It's dire. And the push that he's putting behind this is an interesting one. We'll talk about that later on. Congressman Moore hoping to streamline infrastructure and hoping to streamline the funding of water infrastructure upgrades here in Utah, saying there are a lot of things that we can do that will make better use of our existing infrastructure, reservoirs and waterways and stuff like that, but also some money that can be put towards new projects. And interestingly enough, though this seems counterintuitive in a drought, but undoing some previous generations' water development can also help. There are certain dams, for example, that actually waste a lot of water and are no longer necessary for this reason or that reason. Congressman Moore also talked about the impact this is having on agriculture here in District 1. I'm not sure where he got his data, but where he put it out on the House floor as a matter of official congressional record. I assume it's reliable information, and it is. Yeah, I was shocked. So we'll get to that later on in the hour. Also, on the water topic, we'll talk about this report out this week making some waves. Get it? making some waves here in Utah. A report basically showing that this whole Lake Powell pipeline brouhaha that's been going on for about 10 years now here in Utah, it was fast-tracked by the legislature and then has just run into road bump after road bump. Some of it self-inflicted, bad planning, lack of transparency, fudging some numbers here and there on what it would actually mean as far as increased water rates for people in southern Utah. So those types of things have all delayed the project over and over and over. No ground has been broken, and I'm predicting at this point no ground will be broken on this project, considering the current low levels of Lake Powell anyway, and the fact that this pipeline is basically just for St. George. When this report shows that St. George could actually get by with the water that it already has if they were just a little more responsible about their water usage. Some of the heaviest water users in the entire country in the southern part of Utah. So talk of metering secondary water, talk of raising water rates. They're ludicrously low, some argue, here in Utah. And so we'll break this report down, talk about it in detail, and ask listeners to weigh in on this. It would be a hard call to make because, I mean, if you think about this, you're basically telling a community that, and maybe sometimes you have to. Maybe the reality is you have to say this to a community, and just lay it out there. But you're basically telling a community, look, you can't grow anymore. You've hit a threshold. Arguably, so many people shouldn't be living in the desert anyway, but here you are. There's industry, there's culture, there's livelihoods, there's families. You can't just tell everyone you've got to move, even if, just from a completely removed where's the water at perspective, that might be the smartest thing to do. You can't do that. But we're looking at a situation here in Utah where it may come to that. We may have to say collectively as a state or as a region where there are multiple states involved in deciding what happens to the Colorado River's water, or water shares rather, which is a portion of the water there. You have to leave some in the river, right? And preferably enough that it's a healthy river. But you're still going to face this situation, if not now, eventually, where you're going to have to say to communities in these areas like St. George, Washington County at large, hey, it's the desert. The golf courses might have to go. The lawns are definitely going to have to go. It's the desert. It's going to start looking a lot more like a desert because that's the only way the water supply is sustainable. But also, again, the state might have to say, we just can't subsidize the growth. We can't have the population of St. George, as projected currently, double in the next 20 to 30 years. That's just not sustainable. So, no, there will be no water projects. The water you have is the water you have. Make it work. And if that drives people away from living there or staying there, that's the way of things. That's a tough call to make. And granted, no individual is going to make this call. No governor is going to stand up there and say this. No legislative leader, no member of the legislature. No single person. There's never going to be an event, a press conference where such a thing is announced or said outright. But in the end, that's what ends up happening if more water isn't directed to the area, and that would be, those who are involved with the decision, those in the water district, city and county planners, state lawmakers representing the area, the governor. Everyone has to be aware that if you go down a certain road, that's basically what you're saying is, hey, sorry, you guys, you can't have any more people. Anyone else born here is likely going to have to find somewhere else to live because it's just going to be so unpleasant to live there because there's hardly any water. Tough call to make, but that is definitely a possibility on this front. Here in northern Utah, we've got a lot more wiggle room. We have to be careful too. We're seeing this summer what happens to the Great Salt Lake, and a lot of evidence that we're utilizing the tributaries that feed the lake a bit too much, maybe. They obviously cannot withstand a drought like this because the lake is being very adversely impacted by it. That's really bad for the bird refuge there in Box Elder County. It's done for the year. I mean, it's just dry, cracked sand and dead, dry plants and hardly a bird in sight. That's not something that our overall ecology can have happen permanently. Those wetlands are important for a lot of different reasons, not just the birds. But that's just one example. The Great Salt Lake, if it were to stay at levels as low as it is, the first problem we'll have here in northern Utah is, of course, dust in the air. The dust is going to melt the snowpack faster, so we're going to have more years where the snowpack is gone by July, even in a good snowpack year, or by June. And we're rationing water by August, even though we had a lot of snow at one point. If it melts too fast out of the mountains, then you're still in trouble by the end of July, August. That is basically what Utah State University's Climate Center researchers are saying is the future if the levels of the Great Salt Lake don't come up a bit more and stay up more often than they have. So the reason I say all this isn't to paint some dire, panicked picture of a bleak future. It's to say we can avoid this. We have some wiggle room here in northern Utah, which is a luxury southern Utah doesn't have. And with some careful planning, maybe we're going to have to undo some things that we've done in the past when it comes to water. Maybe we're going to have to do some things we haven't done yet when it comes to water. And we're definitely going to have to change our behavior. But that's where things get tricky again. Because do you say to, this is one of those situations, like many situations in public policy or politics, where it's really easy to have an opinion and it's really easy to just declare. I've heard this a million times. Well, farmers should just find a way to use less water, or to adopt newer equipment that's more efficient, or to find different crops to grow that are less, water hoggish. Alfalfa, for example, one of the probably worst crops to be growing in a desert. But are you going to say to entire families that still make their money in one way or another off of growing some of these crops? There are families that survive solely off of, and they're hurting this year, but there are families in northern Utah that survive solely off of what they bring in from a dairy. And the only way that dairy has been able to support the family is because they have enough land to grow some crops to feed the dairy cattle themselves, rather than having to buy it. So that saves them a bit. And so you're going to say to them, I'm sorry, you've got to grow something. And maybe it's possible. Maybe they grow something else and they sell that, or and use that money to buy alfalfa hay from somewhere else to feed the cattle. I'm not saying that this is all zero sum. There's definitely some shifting and some moving that can happen on all fronts, and going to happen on all fronts. But I'm just setting up the scenario that we're looking at in this situation. It's easy to say, well, yeah, they should stop growing alfalfa. It uses a lot of water, and we're a desert state. Those things are all true, but you're just going to walk up to these families and say that, hey, your livelihood, sorry about that. Nice while it lasted, right? Hope you find something else, but we don't have the water to keep growing alfalfa. No, you can't do that. So we're all going to have to navigate this. It's going to get, I think the tension's going to ratchet up even more, especially if we enter into a second drought year this bad. This is technically our fourth or fifth drought year, but the last three have been mildish, and for most people unnoticeable. I know a lot of folks in agriculture have noticed it every year, but for most of us, most cities weren't saying anything about water restrictions. The state had been talking about it a little bit, talking about metering secondary water, not yet to charge for it yet, but to be able to send a monthly statement to people to let them know, hey, this is how much you're using, and these are the times you're using it the most, and maybe you can make some changes that would be helpful. I think that's a great idea, by the way, but that's a pretty expensive project statewide to get those metering systems in place. But it will be things like that are definitely going to help. But eventually we're going to have to just really look at doing things very differently. There are already some grant programs in place, and the state legislature is talking about beefing these up This was an interesting story from yesterday. A couple of lawmakers looking at now. It's unclear whether they think this needs to be something very soon, like in a special session kind of way, or if this is something that can wait for the general session coming up in January 2022, which is my guess. That's probably when this would happen if it does. But they're looking at taking some money that was originally directed at X, but X is not even something being considered right now in a drought, and taking that money and redirecting it to beefing up these grant programs for very simple things like getting some sort of either tax benefit or just a straight up rebate from the state or from a program the state contracts with, which is usually how it works. And you get a straight up rebate for if you've got a large stretch of, I know that you see this a lot in Cache Valley, someone, especially corner homes or people street side on a city street, they'll oftentimes have not just a park strip, but an entire section of extra lawn on the other side of the sidewalk. They usually mow it and keep it nice, just like they do their own lawn. It's something the city can handle in that situation. They can just come in and turn it into gravel, but most people be unhappy about that. So these grants would be there to encourage people to do those types of things on their own property. Basically the more grass you can eliminate, the less you'll have to water. And a lot of times people might be interested in doing this, but the cost is prohibitive. So these rebate programs would be in place to either make it cheaper or in some cases absolutely free to turn, say, your front lawn into some sort of xeriscaped thing that requires very little water. You can basically turn the sprinklers on those front lawn sections down to once or twice a week, even in non-drought years. That type of thing being talked about at the legislative level. If you'd like to read that story, it's interesting. This program, I didn't know this, but this program has already been utilized a lot here in Utah. Millions of dollars over the last 5 or 6 years have gone towards these rebates and things like that for people going water-wise. And so lawmakers talking about really dumping more money into that and even a little promotional campaign to get people taking advantage of it. And again, make that type of change in your yard at a greatly reduced cost or in some cases even free through a rebate of some kind offered through the legislature. So already got a couple messages from listeners here saying, where can I find out about this? Well, that's the thing. The programs exist right now, but they've always been running at such small scale. They're already tapped out for the year. They didn't anticipate the interest they've seen. So it's going to take a change in the budget. It's going to take an act of the legislature to refund those programs and get them up and running again. There are some rebate programs, federal rebate programs, that can be repurposed. So word is these programs will keep running, but there's going to be a little bit of a pause here. Either way, if you're interested, I've linked to both the story I've been discussing here and the programs themselves on our Facebook page, facebook.com/KVNUFTP. And we'll be back with more For the People right after this.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Superstore next to the Olive Garden. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, now is a great time to buy during our clearance sales event. We have reduced prices on over 250 pre-owned vehicles with over 30 vehicles under $10,000. We can help you find the right vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com or drop in for a test drive at one of our 2 great locations, 328 North Main or next to the Olive Garden.
Wilson Motor Company, we make car buying easy.
This is Logan City Police Chief Gary Jensen. Scammers are continuing to target people in the Cache Valley. Fraudsters often threaten with arrest, withholding medical care for loved ones, or offer to sell or purchase items at discounted or inflated prices. Many of these scams often involve third-party gift cards or other money-exchanging services. If you receive an offer or are threatened like this with immediate punishment unless you comply, hang up and call the police to report it. Please do not become a victim.
Ladies, have you ever felt bloated for no good reason? Pelvic pain or pressure? Too full too fast, even if you're eating just a little bit? Not so unusual, right? But if you have any of these things and they go on for 2 weeks or longer, see a doctor. Because bloating Feeling too full too fast, and pelvic pain or pressure that doesn't go away can be signs of a gynecologic cancer, like cervical, ovarian, or uterine cancer. And if your periods are heavier or longer than usual, or you have bleeding after menopause, see a doctor right away. It may be nothing, but find out for sure. Learn the symptoms. Listen to your body. For more information about gynecologic cancers, call 1-800-CDC-INFO. That's 1-800-CDC-INFO. A message from HHS and CDC's Inside Knowledge campaign.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just kind of having a laugh here with Bill during the break there. Our lieutenant governor is pretty funny. I've made this very clear on the show. I'm extremely biased. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson is a very conservative Republican. She comes from her original first dip into politics was actually working and eventually running the campaign that elected Jason Chaffetz to the House. She had since moved on from that and expressed some disappointment, actually, with Congressman Chaffetz's behavior, and then entered the state Senate, where she was consistently one of the most conservative lawmakers vote-wise, but also one of the most... she pushed for a lot of change in the Senate. She got them to think differently about a bunch of stuff, most of it internal stuff, how they interacted with each other, how the two parties interacted with each other in the Senate, and a lot of changes there. My experience with Lieutenant Governor when she was a state lawmaker is I had the opportunity to work with her on 3 or 4 different transparency bills. One bill that ended up creating this site, opendata.utah.gov, which is honestly amazing. Just go check it out. It's impossible to describe. Basically, everything the state has is there. Every bit of public data. It belongs to you, but oftentimes the state, until someone asks for it, just tucks it away in a virtual or, in many cases, an actual dark closet full of filing boxes. And it just sits there until someone asks about it, and then they go find it. And so we got talking about this and said that doesn't make sense. It's all digital. It can all be made digital. It should all be online. It'll take years and years and years to get it all online, but we should start. And so the state hired a data coordinator. His name's Drew Mingle. He's been working there for about 6 years now. He's a really fun guy and funny on Twitter. And they've been just steadily working on this and at the same time pulling state agencies and even a few counties along for the ride as well, to just make things more accessible when it comes to information. And this can be anything from what your government's spending on things to, this was interesting, a new data uploaded to opendata.utah.gov recently that a app developer took and turned into an app that will tell you where the safest place to park your car in Salt Lake City is at any given time based on the most recent week of police data when it comes to car thefts. And these things tend to you'll see, the number of thefts of a vehicle will kind of go up in a certain area for a week. So you can see where it's been happening recently and say, okay, I'm not parking there. It's just a cool idea, but there are other far more useful things too. So Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson basically created that. It was a pleasure to work with her on those things. She's dedicated to open government, to transparent government, and accountability in government. Anyway, so I'm biased. I think she's funny anyway as a person, but I've posted this to our Facebook page. But a really funny story from the Lieutenant Governor, just something to maybe brighten your Friday up. So yesterday, the Lieutenant Governor was scheduled to give a speech, a keynote address at an event at the Grand America Hotel in Salt Lake City. And before that, though, she was presented, the chairman of the tax commission presented her with a Lieutenant Gov, LT Gov license plate with the commemorative First to Vote, Utah Women 1870 banner on it. This is a new plate you can actually get here in Utah, recognizing Utah being at the forefront of women gaining the right to vote here in the United States. Utah was doing it basically before it was legalized everywhere else. And so she talks about that, and then she said, during this conversation, another individual there, because of this other event going on, just kind of offhandedly says, would you like a ride in a Black Hawk helicopter? Because there was one at this event there near the Capitol, and she said, absolutely. And she's posted the photos to this. I've shared them on our Facebook page. But so just ahead of being the keynote speaker at an event at the Grand America Hotel yesterday, in person, not virtual, she'll be standing at the podium in the spotlight. Just ahead of that, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson takes a Black Hawk helicopter ride, and they leave the doors open. And so she posted some photos of what this was doing to her hair as she rode in this helicopter. And then the helicopter comes down. They get in the governor's caravan, and they head down to the Grand America Hotel for the event. And she steps up to the podium and gives a speech.
Yeah, it's worth the bad hair day. You can't turn down an offer like that.
I'd let the wind mess up my hair for riding a Black Hawk.
And I don't have much to mess up myself, but
just a funny set of photos because this isn't like, I rolled my window down on the way to work wind. This is Black Hawk helicopter with the doors open wind. And she said on her post on social media with these photos, she said, I don't quite think I thought this through. So then she headed down to her give her speech in the spotlight with and that's probably windblown seems like an understatement after this.
And that's something that the real governor, Governor Spencer J. Cox, doesn't have to worry about.
Oh no, he could go through a wind tunnel and might mess up his tie. Check it out. I've reshared the photos with her permission, of course. She made this a public post on our Facebook page. Lieutenant Governor taking a Black Hawk helicopter ride with the doors open just before giving a speech before several hundred people at the Grand America Hotel yesterday, and posting the photos saying, I don't think I thought this through. Good for a laugh. Brighten your Friday. I've posted them to our Facebook page. We'll be back. Hear what Congressman Blake Moore said this week on the House floor, part of the congressional record, as far as Utah's drought goes, how it's impacting farmers, and what he thinks Congress needs to immediately take action to try and alleviate the effects of this drought. We'll hear from Congressman Moore right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:38. News brought to you by U&I Furniture. Law enforcement, families, and members of the community gathered Thursday night for the Cache County Sheriff's Office truck pull. The charity event was organized to raise money for Special Olympics Utah. Deputy Helene Salanoa was the organizer of the event held north of the Cache Valley Mall. She said when she heard the idea of the unique physical challenge, she wanted to bring it to Cache Valley again.
So you need a team of 10 people to pull a semi-truck 10 yards. Every team has the opportunity to go twice, and then the team with the best times win.
Now, the semi-truck and trailer weighed 35,000 pounds. 2 long ropes were tied to the front bumper for the teams to use to pull the Freightliner. 6 teams competed in the event, including multiple law enforcement groups, Utah State football players, and Special Olympic supporters. Most of them were able to move the truck from start to finish in around 8 seconds. The Aggie football players took first place with a time of 7.2 seconds. Members of Salanoa's extended family earned second place with a time of 7.6 seconds. Salanoa said not only was the event meant to raise money for Special Olympics Utah, but it was also a chance for deputies to have fun with the public.
I saw this as a good opportunity for community outreach, for the sheriff's office to get to know different people in the community, and that this opportunity came up. The last time they did this was in 2009, and so it came up again, and I wanted to do it again. I felt like this was a good opportunity for the community and for the sheriff's office.
The event raised around $1,600 in addition to donations made by the 6 teams. More than a dozen companies contributed money, food, and prizes for the competition. There were sobering remarks during an online media event today when an Intermountain Medical Center infectious diseases doctor said when unmasked children return to school this fall, they will transmit the Delta variant to each other. He said, you're going to see this virus transmit in schools. That's according to Dr. Eddie Stenium. And he said then these children are going to take the virus back to their homes and transmit it to susceptible parents and susceptible grandparents. That's just a fact. The doctor's recommendation that kids wear masks in school is in opposition to a recent bill that bans mask mandates in Utah. Today's COVID report from the Utah Department of Health managed to surpass the 1,113 coronavirus cases found in Utah 24 hours earlier. The 1,211 new infections today are the most in one day since early February. With more than 2,300 new cases the last 2 days, the state's new rolling 7-day average of new cases has climbed to 755 a day. Meanwhile, the Bear River Health Department reported 55 new COVID cases in northern Utah today, while the district's total cases number 23,088. Those considered recovered by the state amount to 22,503. And a federal freeze on most evictions enacted last year is scheduled to expire Saturday after the Biden administration extended the original date by a month. The moratorium put in place by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in September was the only tool keeping millions of tenants in their homes. The U.S. Census estimates that more than 11,000 people in Utah are at risk of eviction and foreclosure in a tight housing market that grew even tighter during the pandemic. But the state still has about $150 million in federal funding to help tenants with outstanding rent. KVNU News Time is 4:42.
People love shopping at U&I Furniture. They know they're going to get a great price on a quality piece of furniture. And one section of the store is Chair Heaven, where U&I has a big selection of rocker recliners, power recliners, big chairs, chairs for the petite, swivel chairs, accent chairs, lift chairs, all kinds of chairs. U&I works hard to have the inventory you're looking for. In fact, they order new furniture on almost a daily basis to keep stocked up. So if you need a sofa love, sectional, a new dining room set, stop in and see why there really is always a better buy at U&I Furniture in downtown Logan at 28 West 1st North.
KVNU weather tonight, mostly cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening, then a slight chance of storms after midnight, low around 60. Partly cloudy, slight chance of showers and storms in the morning on Saturday, then partly cloudy, rain showers likely and a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Tomorrow, high around 90. With more clouds hanging out today, 82 is what we managed to reach. It's 75 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. If your clothes dryer isn't drying, it might be the dryer vent. Don't buy new. Call the Duct Hunter, and they'll come clean it out for you. 770-4813. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Cheryl, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Jeff Olson and Edward Jones. Equities closed lower for the week on Friday, led by technology stocks, with the Nasdaq underperforming the Dow and S&P 500. Amazon missed expectations after the bell on Thursday and gave weaker than expected future guidance. Shares were down more than 7% after hours. The Dow closed down 148 points at 34,936. The Nasdaq closed down 106 points at 14,673. The S&P 500 closed down 24 points at 4,395. In stocks of local interest, Nucor was up 0.57 to 104.02. Thermo Fisher was up 6.24 to 540.01. Walmart was up 0.31 to 142.55. Walt Disney was down 2.33 to 176.02. Autoliv was up 0.54 to 100.88. Northrop Grumman was down 2.64 to 363.02. R.R. Donnelley was even at 6.12. Amazon was down 272.33 to 3,327.59. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Jeff Olson, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 580 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-787-8170. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
If you're like most local residents, you have a huge influx of creepy crawlers invading your home. Right now, the nasty elm seed beetle is all over northern Utah, but there is a solution. Call Logan Extermination today for a full exterior spray. Their full exterior spray includes foundations and eaves and will kill those nasty spiders, wasps, box elder bugs, and the new nuisance elm seed beetles. And best of all, prices start at only $85. Call Logan Extermination today for details. 752-8450.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A little ZZ Top here for you. They're good stuff. That's my opinion. I was never a fan of ZZ Top's hits.
You're not Sharp Dressed Man, Legs,
I didn't hate it,
yeah.
but it just wasn't my favorite. But their bluesy stuff, man, were they good? Are good.
This looks like when they were first starting out, before the long beards came.
They're pretty young in this one, relatively young, because I don't think they started until they were in their 30s or so. But yeah, this is sad news came this week. The traditionally three-piece band is officially down to two. Frank and Billy announced just on Thursday or Wednesday that Dusty Hill, one of the original members of ZZ Top, had passed away. This came after, so there was earlier in the week, or late last week, sorry, it was last Friday, a concert was canceled. They actually still tour, and they'd canceled a concert and then rescheduled it, but with an announcement saying that the concert will go on, the show must go on, was the quote. But the announcement was that Dusty, member of ZZ Top, had to head for home due to some issues that were all they really said is it was to address a hip issue. So I don't know if this is some situation, they're kind of advanced age, so maybe there'd been a hip surgery, maybe there'd been a hip injury, I don't know, but something to do with his hip, and he'd headed home to see doctors, and they expected him back on the tour pronto. They said in the post. The post reads, per Dusty's request, the show must go on. With that directive, ZZ Top has put the services of, and then it goes on to detail who will be taking Dusty's spot on bass guitar, harmonica, and slide for the show that was canceled, then uncanceled due to this unexpected event. So they made that announcement. They played the show on July 23rd, and then not much else until an announcement on Wednesday that after returning home, Dusty Hill, member of ZZ Top, passed away in his sleep at his home in Houston, Texas. And no word on this as far as where ZZ Top goes from here. But this is a band that It's funny. Everyone knows who they are. No one owns any of their music. Have you ever noticed that? Everyone knows a ZZ Top song. Everyone knows about the Beards. Some people might even remember the choreographed guitar spinning and things like that from the videos when MTV was a thing in the late 80s.
And a lot of people know that the one member of the band who doesn't have a beard is named Frank Beard.
Frank Beard, ironically, without a beard. So Frank and Billy have been pretty mum on what this means going forward for ZZ Top. They had said in the past that without all three of them, it was not ZZ Top and would not be ZZ Top. But over the years, they have played many times with a replacement member when one of the three couldn't be there, things like that. But sad news. So Dusty Hill again passed away at home in his sleep.
I read
Tuesday
something
evening.
A little bit about him. Apparently, he was not outspoken. He kind of liked to just hang out in the background and just do his music. And I guess at one point he took a job, and I don't know what he did, but I guess he took a job at the Dallas airport while in ZZ Top, and he said he did it so that other people wouldn't think that he was full of himself. And he said, well, and actually I did it so I wouldn't start getting full of myself, thinking I was just big prima donna rock star and, you better kiss my ring or whatever. I guess he took a job at the airport, he said, to keep grounded. Oddly enough, airport. But, he said that kind of helped him realize, he's just a human being who has a talent for music.
That's very cool.
But seemed like a very humble person.
Yeah, that's they're all of them. If you've ever seen an interview, they're great. In fact, that was one of the most likable things about the band. I think they all seem like genuinely nice people that love music and love what they do. Hopefully this doesn't mean the end of ZZ Top. I've never had a chance to see them play live, but I've always kind of wanted to. But we'll keep you posted on that. Sad news this week that Dusty, one of the three original ZZ Top members, passed away. It sounds like overnight Tuesday, passed away in his sleep at home in Houston, Texas. So, link to the stories and coverage on this and some of their greatest songs that you probably haven't heard on our Facebook page. On the other side, Congressman Blake Moore spoke this week into the congressional record on the floor of the United States Congress about drought in Utah, how it's impacting farmers, and what he thinks needs to happen immediately. And by immediately, he said before the August recess. We've got audio of what Congressman Moore had to say coming up right after this.
If you're like me, you're excited to forget last summer. All last year, really, but we're all making up for it now. Last year's anticipated movies are now hitting the big screen. My COVID 20 pounds are finally coming back off, and Heritage is giving you something to really celebrate. We're calling it Make This the Summer Sales Event. And this isn't just Let's Get Back to Normal event. This is big. For example, we've got 2 rowdy muscle cars packed with some serious horsepower ready to light up your summer vacation. This month at Heritage, get 0% financing for 72 months and no monthly payments for 90 days on 2021 Dodge Challenger and Dodge Charger. Plus, don't forget Heritage is your home for Ram truck. You can drive home a 2021 Ram 1500 Classic for only $309 a month for well-qualified buyers. Yeah, I'd say this summer's going to be pretty great. Your summer vacation starts at your hometown dealer. Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals. And don't forget, we buy cars too. Visit heritageeprice.com.
Heritage Auto Group. Heritage. It's what drives our future.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. It's finally summertime. But if you struggle with CPAP, you might not be getting the sleep you need to get outside and enjoy your favorite summer activities. Fortunately, there's a treatment that will give you the sleep you dream of called Inspire. It works inside your body with just the click of a remote. Learn more at InspireSleep.com. Inspire Sleep Apnea Innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you. And review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
We live in a very special place. There are a few places where you can snow ski in the morning, then play golf in the afternoon. Hike a trail, water ski, take a 70-mile bike ride, then go fly fishing. I'm Dee Jones, and I'm running for Logan City Mayor. I'm a local business owner and know the struggles independent small businesses face. I have 35 years marketing and business solutions experience. I know how to balance a budget and where to cut costs. I'm Dee Jones. I'm running for Logan City Mayor, and I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for by Dee Jones.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you prepare for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Wrapping up today's show with two water-related stories. One, a report from the Western Resource Advocates Organization, a study done over 2 years showing that the Lake Powell pipeline isn't necessary for St. George. But what might be is, well, reducing their water use to make them not the biggest water hogging regions of not only Utah, but the West. In contrast with basically everyone else, water use in the St. George area nearly double most areas' average water use in gallons per day. A report saying Lake Powell Pipeline is just sustaining that unsustainable reality when, in fact, they should learn to get by with the water they have. We'll talk about that in a bit. Drought was also discussed in the United States Congress this week, courtesy of our own district's representative, Representative Blake Moore. He spoke on the House floor this week about Utah's drought, how it's impacting farmers, and called on Congress to, before the August recess, take action. What, though, specifically could they do? Well, in his own words, Congressman Blake Moore.
So, Madam Speaker, I rise today to continue the conversation that many of my colleagues have highlighted from their own individual districts. Coming from Utah, we are experiencing the worst drought in our modern history. 99.9%, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, of Utah is experiencing extreme drought. The entire state is under this. The impact of this crisis cannot be overstated. The lack of water will reduce food, jobs, and increase the frequency and size of wildfires. Unfortunately, our agriculture sector is bearing much of the brunt of this. Farmers and ranchers in my state and district have had to reduce their water use by 70 to 75% compared to 2020 numbers. This will increase food prices for years to come, but it will also decimate rural economies, which hurts our state and our nation. The scope of this issue is magnified by the rapid population growth taking place in the West. In Utah, the population is expected to double by 2065. Increased water demand will strain our water infrastructure and could cripple economic expansion. We must pursue creative water policies that allows us to respond to the crises of today while preparing for the challenges of the future. I'm proud of the great work being done by state leaders in Utah and in our western states that are working towards this very goal. Here in Washington, we must carefully consider ways we can streamline, improve, and update laws and regulations that make it difficult for states to build the water infrastructure projects they need to meet our ever-increasing demands. As this issue intensifies, it is incumbent upon us to give this crisis the attention that it deserves, to collaborate and to work toward a solution that can enable our communities to prosper in these difficult times. We owe this to our constituents, our districts, and our states.
That was Congressman Blake Moore, again speaking this week on the United States Congress floor, the House floor, and we'll see if anyone heeds his call to take action on this. Again, Congressman Moore is there saying we could loosen things up a bit and get fast-track some money to get some of this happening, to better utilize our existing water infrastructure and also beef up where needed. It's a good idea. It's just frustrating that Congress is incapable of acting that quickly on anything. So we're not going to have time to discuss it today, as I'd hoped. So we'll put a pin in this until Monday, but I've linked to it on our Facebook page anyway. A new report showing that The Lake Powell, taxpayer-funded Lake Powell pipeline that has been sold as the only solution to St. George's water problem, a new report showing that's maybe not the case. In fact, they maybe don't even need it. What they need is to stop being the worst water abusers in the Southwest region at 300 gallons per person per day, double the average use in every other Southwestern community.